People who grew up in the 1970s often feel different when you talk to them. Calmer, more grounded, as if time is not constantly pushing them forward or pulling them in 100 directions at once. There is less urgency in their movements and in their words, not because they lack ambition or curiosity, but because their nervous system was shaped in a slower, less demanding world, where pauses were normal. They move through life with fewer sharp reactions, allowing themselves to respond not immediately, as if they understand something important. Most situations do not require instant answers or emotional explosions. For them, pausing is not weakness, not hesitation, but a natural part of thinking clearly, choosing carefully, and staying connected to reality. Their world was quieter, in a very real psychological sense, with fewer sounds, fewer interruptions, and far less pressure to always be engaged, productive, or visible. Attention was not constantly demanded, and the mind had space to wander, to reflect, to daydream, and to rest, without guilt, without fear, without the feeling of falling behind. Silence was not something to fill, not something to fear, and not something to escape from. It was the natural background of everyday life, a space where thoughts could unfold fully, where emotions could settle, and where inner dialogue could develop, without being constantly interrupted. Being alone was never treated as a problem that needed fixing, labeling, or explaining. It was simply part of growing up, a space where a person slowly learned who they were, without constant feedback, comparison, or evaluation. Children walked outside on their own, went places without supervision, and made small decisions early, not because adults were careless, but because trust was part of education. And trust, when given early, quietly builds responsibility, confidence, emotional regulation, and inner stability that often lasts a lifetime. Mistakes had real consequences, felt directly, remembered clearly, without filters or explanations designed to soften the experience. Life itself became the teacher, sometimes strict, sometimes gentle, but always honest, and always consistent. There was no instant way to escape discomfort, no quick distraction from difficult moments. Boredom was unavoidable, and because of that, it slowly became useful, rather than frightening. Over time, boredom stretched the imagination, trained observation, and forced the mind to create its own stimulation instead of consuming it. This quiet mental work shaped creativity, patience, focus, and the ability to be alone without collapsing into anxiety or restlessness. That is why silence feels safe to many people from that generation. Not empty, not threatening, but familiar, grounding, and even restorative. They learned how to stay with their thoughts without feeling lost, without feeling overwhelmed, without feeling pressured to escape. Waiting was part of everyday life. Waiting for buses, for letters, for phone calls, for paydays, for people who were late. That constant waiting trained patience, in a way modern life rarely does, teaching that not everything arrives immediately, efficiently, or on demand. Because of this, people from the 70 seconds often pause emotionally before reacting. They observe first, process internally, and only then respond, which gives their words and actions more weight, more intention, and more emotional balance. Emotions were not constantly discussed, not endlessly labeled, not analyzed in detail. They were lived through quietly and carried inside, sometimes for a long time, until they settled into understanding rather than confusion. Feelings were allowed to mature before being expressed, creating emotional depth rather than emotional speed. That is why many people from that generation feel deeply, even if they speak about it less openly, less dramatically, and less impulsively. Trust between people was built slowly, through shared time, shared routines, shared silence, shared work, and shared difficulties. Friendships formed over years, shaped by presence, rather than availability, and by reliability, rather than excitement. Loyalty mattered more than excitement, and consistency felt safer than intensity. Depth was valued more than novelty, because depth could be relied on. When life became difficult, uncertain, or emotionally heavy, life offered fewer choices, fewer distractions, and fewer replacements, which naturally created appreciation for what already existed. When something was limited, it carried more meaning and demanded more care. Objects were repaired instead of replaced, and relationships were worked on rather than discarded. At the first sign of difficulty, home was not designed to entertain or stimulate endlessly. It was a place of routine, repetition, and emotional grounding, where days followed a familiar, reassuring rhythm. Routine, often misunderstood today, creates psychological safety by telling the nervous system that life is predictable enough to handle. And from that safety, inner strength quietly grows, without effort, without noise, without performance. People who grew up in the 1970s did not expect life to be comfortable, easy, or emotionally smooth. They expected it to be real, sometimes heavy, sometimes unfair, sometimes exhausting, but survivable and meaningful. Discomfort was not seen as failure, silence was not seen as rejection, and loneliness was not treated as a personal flaw. These states were understood as temporary parts of life, not signs that something was broken inside a person. They learned endurance before happiness, patience before pleasure, and stability before excitement. Life did not promise clarity, so uncertainty was accepted, rather than feared, avoided, or dramatized. Mistakes were not seen as identity, and failure was not treated as a permanent label. Because of this, many people from that generation recover faster from setbacks and trust their ability to adapt again and again. They did not grow up constantly improving themselves, optimizing their lives, or presenting a better version of themselves to the world. They grew up becoming themselves, slowly, imperfectly, and privately, without constant comparison. Life was not a performance, and there was no constant sense of being watched, measured, or evaluated. Self-worth came from inside, built through lived experience, rather than attention, praise, or approval. They carried emotional weight quietly, without needing to explain it or justify it to others. Depth was something to live with, not something to advertise, simplify, or turn into an identity. Limits existed and were accepted, and those limits gave life, structure, and solidity. Boundaries created stability, and stability created strength and long-term resilience. They trusted time more than urgency, meaning more than speed, and presence more than visibility. Life moved slower, but it felt heavier, richer, and more real because of it. They lived deeply, rather than loudly, quietly, rather than performatively, but fully and honestly. So when you meet someone who seems reserved, patient, or emotionally contained, do not mistake it for coldness or distance. It may be strength, shaped by silence, by patience, and by a world that taught people how to endure without losing themselves. And the real question is not why they are different. The real question is this: what kind of psychology is our world shaping now? And what quiet strengths we may be leaving behind as we move faster, louder, and further away from ourselves?